Welcome to the Born Unbreakable podcast. I'm your host, Coach Des, mindset motivator and lifestyle entrepreneur. From loss, trauma, disappointments, and devastation to healing, hope, and betterment, what has grounded me is my unbreakable spirit. We all have that spirit within us. Every week, I'm here to inspire you with stories of perseverance and growth. My mission is to help you crush self-limiting beliefs and to be unapologetically you. You are your only limit, so take action today. Let your unbreakable ride begin now. This episode is brought to you by Blue Skies Life, a lifestyle brand with high-quality, ethical, and sustainable products. There are products for your mind, body, and home, everything from calming tea and luxurious shea butter to Turkish towels and silk kimonos. The holiday season is upon us, so start getting these one-of-a-kind gifts now. Go to blueskieslife.com, that's BLUSKYSLIFE.com, and use code BU20 to get 20% off your order today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Born Unbreakable podcast. I'm here this week with a really special guest. Her name is Kristina Shea, and she is the CEO of Blue Skies Life. I'm going to let her talk a little bit more about that, but let me just tell you about Kristina. She is a passionate advocate, speaker, and educator for medical cannabis. She'll talk a little bit more how she got exposed to that, how it's helped her. But before her journey into being a CEO, she actually had a very entrepreneurial life in the corporate world. So Kristina worked and spent many years working for Fortune 500 companies in a pretty high stress environment in the financial industry, doing marketing and communication. So I can only imagine. But you've also gone through some challenging times. I know you've lost more than one significant other in your life. I know that you have had a brain cyst, and that is a large catalyst to what got you to where you are today. But what's really special about Blue Skies Life is that it's all about wellness. And it's wellness and holistic natural health for women. Her and I were just having a conversation about how women stop putting themselves first after they spend so much time and so many years putting others before them, and what it's like to get back to taking care of ourselves. And so Kristina, she works to promote equity and equality for women, and I'm just so grateful to have you on the show today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I feel very honored and blessed to be here having a conversation with you on Born Unbreakable. As I said, I just love the name of that show. I think sometimes we all feel a little broken sometimes, and you are not broken. I've even been told that in a relationship by somebody once, that you are broken. You are not broken. You are strong, and you're made to rise up. So thank you again for having me.
Yeah, when I learned more about you, Kristina, one of the first words that came to mind was resiliency. So I know that, being diagnosed at one point in time with a brain cyst was, I can imagine, pretty life-changing for you. So if you could take me back to that time, how did it change your life, and how did it spur the journey of Blue Skies Life?
Gosh, I mean, so much of it, you're getting me all like, I don't know, I don't get too emotional usually about when I'm talking about these things, because it's, it's part of my life and my story. But yeah, when I was diagnosed, I'll just do a little bit of precursor to the story, not the whole story maybe. We can talk about maybe loss and that, which is all part of it. But I was undergoing a lot of stress. I had gone under a lot of trauma. And as a woman, there's lots of things I could share about that trauma, but which maybe contributed to the what developed in the cyst in my brain. I don't know. We don't know really the cause, but I was working beyond physical and mental and emotional constraints. And when I say I only slept 3 hours a night for about 15 years, that's all I did, sleep, because I was a single mom and I had lost a husband, and there's other story within that story. But financially was very much strapped. So I was trying to, just achieve and make it happen and put stability and security for my daughter. And, I guess there's a part of me that I've always been an achiever. So I always wanted that promotion, or I wanted to excel. I wanted to do great work. And I also ran my own consulting firm while I was working full time, and I was going to university full time. So when you compound all this, I just kept thinking, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And I did do it, but at a huge cost. So I was going down the escalator in the financial district, meeting someone for a lunch meeting, and I thought, oh my God, like I've been going through migraines for quite some time, years actually, but they progressively were getting worse, which is a whole story in itself. But I thought, oh my God, I'm going to fall down. I'm going to faint. And this wasn't something usual, really. I mean, I would suffer from pain, but it wasn't like I could still function. But I literally did come face to floor when I got off that escalator. Thank God I didn't fall on the escalator. And obviously there was a lot of commotion, which I had passed out. So then I was rushed to the hospital. And I actually had lost my eyesight for about 48 hours. I could not see properly. It was very, very scary because I'm a very visual, creative person. Like, we all want our sight, but it's like I live and breathe. I love art, and it's just I'm a graphic designer by trade. So, and I thought the thought of never seeing my daughter again. Like, all these things went through my head. And when they did all these tests and CAT scans, they initially told me that I had, and then my eyesight came back, and then I'm like, oh, everything's okay now. That's what I thought. I'm like, oh, I had a bad migraine. It's all okay. So I got called into the doctor's office a couple days later, and they said, I was first told that I had brain cancer. And I was like, it runs in my family, but they made a mistake with that. So and a couple days later, they corrected that. So is a brain cyst. And there was the option to surgically go in there and change, remove it. But I wasn't comfortable with that because there was other risks, like losing more of my sight, or other risks as well. And at that time, I was primarily actually working with my consulting firm for these companies, which I had worked very, very hard to get them as clients. So I didn't have insurance, like health insurance. I didn't have all these things. So I thought, okay, I'm going to manage this. I'm going to change my life, because basically my doctor said, if you continue along this path, you will die. You need sleep, because sleep is a huge issue. I used to say I would sleep when I die. I realized very quickly that I would die if I don't sleep. So that was a big part of my journey, and also, finding meditation and yoga and all of those things. And to kind of progress it a little bit and segue into cannabis, I started using a lot of painkillers to manage my daily pain, which, obviously is not healthy. You get prescribed these things and then you just become addicted to them. They were socially acceptable, and, you get them through your doctor. And I was a mess. I'd function at work very well, but I'd be exhausted. I'd still be in pain, but also I just had these migraines, and the painkillers they're just numbing me, to be honest. So I remember asking a girlfriend to help me with my daughter one night, because I was, had an ice pack on my head in the dark, and I was like, I just can't do this day. And so she had come over, and she had proposed or suggested that maybe I try something else. I'm like, try something else. I was a little bit short fused, especially when you are dealing with someone who's on painkillers and, is in pain. They usually have a bit of a short temper, which I would say I did. So I snapped at her and I said, I have tried everything. And then she goes, what about cannabis? And I said, you mean marijuana? I said, no. I said, I don't do drugs. And she looked at me like I'm just crazy, right? So she looked at my bedside table, which was full of all sorts of anything from, Tylenol 3s to Oxycontin, like, you named it, I had it. I had my own little pharmacy on the side of my bed. So she said, you do drugs? And she just like threw them all to the floor. And I was like, oh my God. And I thought, you know what? She has a valid point. So I did try cannabis. I did, inhale. I used, I smoked it traditionally, and I found that it did really work for me. On the other hand, though, I didn't want to start smoking. So I had a bit of a dilemma. My husband later, he smoked quite heavily, which led to his death. Actually, my second husband, I've been married twice. So I didn't ever want to smoke in front of my daughter. Plus, it just wasn't my nature. It's just not my thing. I don't judge it. It's just, there's all sorts of alternative format. So I really started using CBD oil in particular, and then, 1-to-1 in THC and CBD, a balance of such. But when I was working, I really did find the CBD would also calm me down, because I would have anxiety just about having the pain. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to have pain today, or migraines. So it would ease that and it would help with the pain. So I became a huge advocate for cannabis as a whole, but I also discovered all the other benefits to it, like inflammation. CBD reduces inflammation. And Blue Skies Life, we're also launching a Blue Skies beauty brand, which I'll talk about later, but it's all about inflammaging, right? So I'm pro aging. Obviously we've developed and, we've gotten older. The alternative is not much, is not good, right? So it's better to be aging than not. But I've turned 49 years old, and I think really this year. So I'm very much on a mission to make the rest of my life really matter, really count, and with a mission to make women feel beautiful inside and out, and really work on their wellness or their lifestyle from 360 point of view. So that kind of gives you a background where with the story of my health, and throughout that also had other issues like hypertension, all these things that develop from stress, and corporate burnout is a real thing. It's now it has been basically labeled from WHO, the World Health Organization, as a real condition, a real illness. So it is something I think employers really need to take seriously now, and especially with women who are working very, very hard, often double, I'm going to say it, than men, to be quite frank, because we've had to really earn where we have with our positions and our promotions, and often we take on so much because we're trying to really prove our worth. I think that's a whole other conversation in itself, but I really think corporate burnout has to be really looked at with women, in particular those who have children and single mothers, and really identify that they need flexible hours. They need some compassion. They need resources and support. And I think that's really where I'd like to see the employment future go anyway, at least for women, and promote each other within the workforce.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think in part because of the pandemic, corporations have a different magnifying glass or a different lens on what life is like at home. You see, when women were going into offices, it's the separation, right? You've got your separation of this is home and this is work. And now people are seeing when those things are merged together, it is quite difficult. Because many have been in situations where they're either partially or in some cases 100% virtual, the awareness level of just how much people are juggling has gotten greater. And there is, I think, a shift. I don't know if it's the same necessarily in all industries, but just of having more compassion, like you said, of life is more complex and there's a lot of shades of gray. And that support that's required for our mental state is more important now than ever. And so, your story highlights something that I hope people are taking something away from, which is you were brought to the edge in some ways. You got to the place of burnout. And I think many of the people listening, because I myself too come from a corporate background, they might not be there yet, but they might not be far from it. And I'm hoping that through our conversation today, they don't have to get there.
I hope not. And I think it's a conversation that needs to be talked about more and more with women, and identifying, being self-aware that you are teetering near the edge. Sometimes you're not self-aware because you become on, I don't know if I'm diverting this whole conversation, but you become on autopilot, right? You get up in the morning, you feed the children, or, I had one daughter, but feed the children, get them to school, jump onto we have a GO train here in Toronto, or you drive to work and you're just getting there and you're thinking about the meeting and the this and the that, and you have to get done, and then you do whatever that is. And then you have to get back in time for the daycare, which is stressful enough. That used to be one of the most stressful parts of my day, was actually trying to make sure I caught that train to get back home. And then you're taking them to their, extracurricular activities. Maybe you have a PTA meeting, and somehow in there you would like to try to fit in some, workout for you because you're probably not eating well. You've been eating garbage or something because you're just feeding the kids as much as you can, and then you're just taking whatever's left over, or at the best, maybe you get a nutrition bar, or maybe you're even doing a drive-through fast food. I'm not going to judge. So it's all these things, and then you're exhausted, and then you're still getting pinged by your employer with emails and texts, and and it's stressing you out because you shouldn't have to even look at those till tomorrow, but they're there, or they expect you to answer, and you just need sleep. And you also need some time for you, right? And that's a challenge. But I think that's just the lifestyle challenge. But also with employers, I think they have to be, as I said, compassionate, empathetic, and they have to have resources. And you only do have one life to live. I try to get this through to women because I have lost two husbands, which has been quite dramatic, and then dealing with a teenage daughter that didn't have a father. You have one life to live, and you're going to spend most of it at work, and so. You are. I mean, you really are. You're spending at least half your life there. I would like to think that you like your work and you like the people. You're not going to like everything about it. Let's just be honest. We don't like everything about everything. But
No.
hopefully, the work that you are doing, you feel that there's some impact, and you are learning something, and you are hopefully connecting with some people that you hopefully will be able to connect again in the future. I remember working with a woman at a certain bank, which I really very much admired at the time. And, I later then worked with her at another financial institution. And I think that's what's really great about connecting with other women. We have to stop competing and comparing with each other. We have to collaborate. And I always have a saying, if you make it up to the next floor or the other floor, the penthouse, whatever, shoot that elevator back down, okay? And bring those women up. And young women, midlife women, it doesn't matter. Bring them up. And it's not a competition, because the more lights that you shine, the brighter the light will be. And you will build a much brighter future for our young women that we have following in our footsteps.
I hope everybody just took that note. I mean, that is just absolutely 100% true. If we all had that mindset, we would be arm in arm and limitless. Unfortunately, I think that the way people are taught is to compete. And I think you quickly learn how much stronger and how much better you are when you work together. And you actually support and uplift, and like your brand, which is what I want to talk about, is about elevating. One of the most beautiful things I think about Blue Sky's life is the why in the name. And so that's something that you talk about. So a big aspect of your brand is purpose and the why. Could you talk about what inspired you for your message for your brand?
Yes, definitely. This is something I love to talk about. Blue Skies Life. I mean, I'll go into first how that name, it's been a mantra, Blue Skies, that I've carried with me since my first husband passed away very tragically in a motorcycle accident. I had to leave my home, very dramatically. And I remember all my friends throwing my belongings into boxes, and I didn't even know, I was just obviously, distraught. I was 24 years old. My home, my husband, all that life that you thought you were going to have, that the white picket fence, happily ever after, it was totally destroyed instantly. Within a couple of hours, everything had turned upside down. And anyway, so I had moved out, and I wasn't sure where I was going to go, to be honest, because I wasn't sure where I was going to go. I didn't want to live with my parents. So that's a whole story too. But I was lying on the grass and looking at the blue sky, and I thought, it's a beautiful blue sky. I wish John, my husband, was here to see this. And I thought, everything's going to be okay. Blue skies, it might feel stormy, or it might be stormy tomorrow, but I'm going to get through it. It was just a very optimistic, elevated way of thinking, a growth mindset, I suppose. And I've always kept that blue sky, like whenever it was a blue sky day, I'm like, oh, it's a blue sky day. So it was, to me, it's about elevating your mindset. It's about optimism. And for women too, we always talk about that ceiling, or this, there is no ceiling. The sky is not the limit. Like, push through. It's limitless, like you say, if you really believe in that, and blue sky thinking. And so I spelt blue skies, plural, life. So blue skies with a Y, SKYS, because it is all about your why and your purpose. and your mission in life. And as I said, that might change, throughout stages of your life. You might be very focused on your children, you might be very focused on your career, but I think it's all about impact and what kind of legacy you want to leave to the world. Hopefully, I'd like to make the world a greener, more, future for our future children, but I also want to make women and elevate women to feel confident in their own skin, to feel beautiful inside and out. And that's a holistic approach. It's a 360 approach, right? So it's not only, your spiritual, emotional, physical, mental, it's all of those things put together. It's what you eat, it's what you put inside your body, it's what you put on your skin. When I became very sick, I was very much into non-toxic products because I was realizing all the toxic, not only skincare, but, even things I ate. So all those things contribute to a toxic physiology, right? And then you can have a toxic mindset on top of that. So we've been talking a lot about imposter syndrome. We've been talking a lot, in society about self-limiting beliefs. And now, because of the pandemic, Black Lives Matter and all these social justice issues that have not really, they've been undercurrent, but they've now bubbled to the top. I mean, it's all about really toxic thinking. So, I think I'd like to eliminate toxic in all of our lives, like from way of thinking and mindset to what we put in and on our bodies. And my products in general, like I'm launching a new product line, as I said, CBD skincare, which will have high-end like Ecolux serums and all sorts of other really beautiful products. But it's also a state of being. So Blue Skies Life is a way of life. It is a mindset. It is a holistic approach, 360. And, you are what you think. I think, if we can just, today we're recording this, I believe it's International Peace Day. And, if the power of love can outweigh or conquer the power of greed, the power of love could outpower the power of greed and all of these toxic ways of thinking, I think we'd have a beautiful world. So if we can throw away all of these societal frameworks of hatred and division and comparison and greed, and just, this is a huge thing, I know, but if you take all these complex things and you really simplify them, it really just comes down to love. And that's what Blue Skies Life is about, loving yourself and loving others and loving your planet.
That's amazing. Talk about your products. They're phenomenal because you have, like you said, everything from mind, body, and even home. So share with us your current products. And then since you mentioned it, I'd love to hear about what's coming.
Okay, exciting. So yes, actually, this Blue Skies Life was born during the pandemic because it was a personal passion project of mine. So mind, body, and home. We know we talk about mind, body, soul, of course, soul, but mind, body, home, because our home is where we were spending a lot of our time. So I'm going to be building on that collection, but I'll start first with mind. So mind kind of overlaps, to be honest, everything. So sleep is a big thing for me. So I do have a natural tea, for example, which is Blue Lotus Dreams, which helps lucid dreaming. I also have had very traumatic things happen in my life, of course. So it also helps people who have post-trauma or have anxiety. So it helps calm naturally. And I also have raw local honey, which you can infuse into your tea. So it really helps anyone that has any degrees of, anxiousness or feelings of anxiousness, I would like to say. But also has problems going to sleep, like insomnia. For me, it's a huge issue. So I carry that. Also, just really, mind is also about, mind and body to me are a little bit infused there, because if you feel good and look good, your mindset is usually healthier as well. So I carry a lot of non-toxic products like cream deodorants, which have no aluminum. So when you're working out on on your body, whether it's a workout or a walk, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but aluminum has been traced. There's lots of studies to say whatever about anything, but at the end of the day, aluminum is not good to be absorbed into your body. It is a toxic. It also creates your clothes to become yellow. Those yellow ugly stains that you have under, that's aluminum. It's actually not your sweat or your glow, as I like to say it. I also carry all rosehip serums and so on for the skin. I carry shea butters. My last name is Shea, Shea. So of course I had to have a shea collection. So I have a plethora of beautiful non-toxic shea collection from orange bergamot to vanilla to cocoa to lemongrass. We have wintergreen that will be coming for the winter. And that company that I work very closely with, they work with women that are in Africa and villages in Ghana. So it really helps support their community and their economy. So I really very much believe in trying to find and source. I'm not trying, I do source local raw ingredients that do not have GMOs, do not have pesticides, but also help build a community and elevate a community, whether it's women or anybody that's from a country that really requires resources financially and economically. And gosh, I'm trying to think of all the things we do have now. Those are my favorites, of course. We also just launched actually for the home in the summer, but it's not just a summer thing. We have coconut bowls, spoons, bamboo cups, and straws, and we call them bowl of love, cup of love, sip of love, spoonful of love, because it is all about loving your body and yourself and create, you can create smoothie bowls. I'm be coming out with some recipes that will have CBD in them as well. But you can also, just love your planet because they're repurposed. Otherwise, those coconut shells and bamboo, they'd be going into waste. And it helps create actually an economic future for some of these villages as well. So it's repurposed and we're also helping communities. And you're also loving not only the planet, but you're loving your body by hopefully feeding something good in those bowls and cups, whether it's a smoothie bowl or salad or anything that's just healthy. I think because they are very sustainable, it just nurtures and that philosophy of wealth, as I call WELLTH, like holistic wealth. So what else? We also have Turkish Towels, which are also help a village that are in Turkey, which is a women-led company. They're very thick. They're not like those thin ones that you often see on eBay and stuff. So they're great because I use them as shawls. I use them on the airplane. I'll be flying out tomorrow to Nashville, actually. But I'll be wrapping myself in one of those. We have various designs, but they're also great for just in your bathroom, like as decor, because they're fast drying, they're absorbent, and they're sustainable. So we have some beautiful products like that. We also have silk kimonos, which are eco-luxe. They last forever. They're timeless. You can hand them down to your daughter, or anyone in your family. They make wonderful gifts. I had a lady buy them for her daughter's wedding, this summer wedding this past season, as she wore it to a beach cottage wedding. But we have gorgeous ones like, oh, you can't see it in the back, but I don't know if I can just I don't want to move my computer, but there's I have butterfly designs. I have tropical wakiki. You can just go on my Instagram and you can see them. Palms. We have butterflies, as I said. We have even cannabis leaf on the back, which advocates for anyone who's in that who loves the plant. We have beautiful designs of everything, but I'm very, very, very excited to be launching Blue Skies Beauty specifically, which we already have beautiful beauty products, but we're going to be launching our own CBD line of serums and other body and face creams. They'll be Eco-Luxe products, which they will help fight inflammaging. So not just, which is inflammation, whether it's inside your body or on your skin. It is actually what aging stems from. So anything like people have all sorts of, diseases, whether it's IBS or whether they have rosacea or eczema. A lot of these things can be, the symptoms can be treated. Some of those symptoms can be treated, but you can't actually cure the condition, but they can be treated with CBD because it is a natural inflammatory, and I'll be combining that with some other really beautiful ingredients as well, which I don't want to share quite yet, but I'll be launching them in the US first to start, and then hopefully in Canada here as well.
That is amazing. And holiday season is coming, and I have taken a look at all your products, and I've already gone through in my mind things for myself, things for others. I love that you advocate for sustainability and that it's not just about quality products, but it's about helping the community and doing so much more, for, like you said, local economies. And there's just so many benefits to buying your products. And I'm also just excited to be able to hear more about CBD, because I do think that there might be a little bit of a stigma where people don't understand some of those different benefits, because obviously in the past, it's only been associated with recreational drug use, and now there's so much evidence and there's so much research around the impact that it can have positively on our health.
You're so spot on there. That's what I really advocate. I want to crush the stigma of cannabis. I mean, when I was working in the financial, I mean, I never shared that I used, because that's when I started using CBD and cannabis products as a whole. I mean, I think it's so important. Cannabis as the plant has been used in ancient medicine for centuries, specifically Chinese medicine, indigenous medicines. It's been around for centuries. And it was, really made illegal really due to racial and political agendas. So really look at the reasons why it was made illegal. So therefore it should not be on us, especially CBD, which has no psychoactive effects whatsoever. It does not make you high. Tetrahydrocannabinol does have those effects, but it also has pain relieving effects. It's really wonderful for not just women, but for anyone that's maybe going through chemotherapy, because it helps with appetite. Because a lot of times you're nauseous when you're going through a lot of treatments. It also helps with all sorts of conditions, feelings of depressions, feelings of anxiety, all of these, as long as they're monitored. I do have a science degree in cannabis, so I can speak very much, I could go on a whole tangent there, but I don't want to. But there's all these other cannabinoids. There's over 100 cannabinoids, CBN, CBG, and they're only discovering, and there's a whole lot of other ones as well, obviously. They're only discovering now a lot of what these cannabinoids can do and what specifically ones can do maybe together. So when they're starting to isolate these and treating everything from autism to, skin conditions to, they're even looking, to treat cancer. There's so much of a future to it. I think there's so much can be said about mental health with it, as long as it's monitored. Is again, like anything, it should always be monitored, and make sure that you're taking it with a doctor's supervision or a medical cannabis practitioner supervision. Because if you are on other medications, you should know that could be sometimes, interactions. But in general, like, nobody's died from taking too much cannabis. Okay, so like alcohol. I mean, I general, like when I had a stressful day, I would have. I mean, I still like my drinks now and then, but I make a lot of what I call CBD cocktails, which I'll be also launching. An initial course on Eventbrite talking all about feeling good in your skin, which I'll be doing that over a CBD cocktail and teaching women about how to care for their skin naturally. So there's so much you can do with this plant. I mean, you can eat it, you can put it in your smoothies, you don't have to smoke it. So I think that's a lot of the stigma, is the smoking and the smell.
Exactly.
Yeah, and some people love the terpenes, and the terpenes do have, but you don't necessarily want everyone to know what you're doing. So there's all sorts of delivery methods, from oral strips to oral sprays to obviously gummies and edibles, or you can I cook with it. I make cannabis butter, which I call liquid gold. So I put that out. Obviously, go low and go slow, no matter how, especially if you're ingesting it or inhaling it. Because if you ingest it, it can be more potent than your traditional method of inhaling. So yeah, always go low and go slow. But CBD is something that you really can't go too wrong with, because it is non-psychoactive. But I do feel it's important to always go low and slow, just to make sure you do not have a reaction. But I find it just calms me. I don't need to. I do love my wine. Everybody knows that. But I do that more because when I go wine tasting or something like that. But I would love to see the cannabis tourism industry one day, do something where we're experiencing it, not necessarily smoking it, but maybe experiencing it in different ways, like, cannabis cocktails. I prefer to do that. That's kind of my go-to, because I loved keeping it classy. So for me, it's something, but also, when you're doing something that's, a gel cap, or I like the oil because it is more fast acting for me. I like to do that because it's discreet. So if I needed to take, a dose of CBD at work, at the office, I could do that and nobody would smell it on me. Not to mention, it just wasn't in my, my wheelhouse. It wasn't something I like to do. I don't smoke in general. But vaping is another alternative. It is inhaling, but it is not. It is below the combustion point, the boiling point. So you're not getting the same carcinogens that you would inhale potentially with a joint, as we call them. So there's different ways to enjoy cannabis. There's something for everyone and anyone, I think. But always go low and go slow, and maybe try CBD first. It's great if you are working out, like I work out quite a bit. So if you have joint pain, arthritis, inflammation, And it takes a little time to build up in your system. So just because it didn't work once doesn't mean it won't work. It's just like taking your vitamins. If you take one vitamin, it's not necessarily going to work either. So, but it's really about a holistic approach. And so I never say cannabis is the cure all for everything.
Right.
Everyone is different, but you also have to live your life well, holistically. So I'm very excited about infusing CBD into topicals and beautiful skincare. And so Blue Skies Beauty is beautiful made well. So I'm very, very excited. So I'll have to share with you, but I would love to offer any listeners too 20% off I'll share a link, but 20% off. And then
Perfect.
I have some mindset tips too that I can share with everyone. So I'll send you those links and maybe you can post them too.
I would love to. I was just thinking of that as you were talking, so our wavelength is just completely aligned. But I'm exhilarated by this because I personally have happy to gone the slow route. Like you said, I wish everybody had a scientist like you that might advise them before they just start, doing things. And those gummies are a lot more potent than one might think.
Yes, they actually convert to a compound called 11-hydroxy. I mean, I tried educating people in the cannabis space that were like I worked for, and people didn't believe me. And I'm like, okay, I know what I'm talking about. So it converts to 11-hydroxy, which is 4 to 5 times more potent than THC itself. So, and it resides in your system, especially as women physiologically, we have more fat storage than men traditionally, not all, but in general. So it will reside in your system longer too. So that's another thing to think about. It all depends on your weight and your size and all that, but it could linger for a couple days.
Yeah, I figured that
Yeah.
out because I'm, I know not much about this, and but the drops, I found the drops, and then also the pain relief in the roll on is really great. So like you said, there's just depending on where you're at and what your needs are. Like I'm finding pain as I guess that's just part of the process. It's you get more pain as you go through the aging process and do the things that you normally do. Like if you are a person like you and I that regularly work out, things change. I'm like, I didn't used to have pain like this. And next thing you know, you do. And so you need to find other ways to heal that. And the other interesting thing that I find is the impacts of other drugs that are, I don't know, even more rampant, like opioids and all the various forms that it comes in, to the point where our government has had task force because that is a drug that has killed so many.
It's awful. I mean, I
And
took opioids, back in the day, and Oxycontin and all that. So it's quite addictive, and I would say it's really rampant among professionals because they get prescribed it, especially back then. But now it's very, very sad to see people overdosing in the streets. And a lot of these people, they lose their entire lives over it. And it's because somebody prescribed it to them and they're suffering with pain, but then they're told, that it's okay. So they take another one, another one, another one. And before you know it, they're mixing with alcohol, they're doing all sorts of things. And it's so, so sad. And, I think really medical cannabis supervised should be one of the first resorts of treatment versus a last, which I find so ironic that, that in pharmaceuticals, there's always a place for pharma, of course. I'm never going to say that there isn't. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of side effects to a lot of these pharmaceutical products that we are prescribed for anxiety, for depression. I mean, there's like anything, there's something called cannabis use disorder too. So, I mean, anything that you misuse can become a disorder. But at the end of the day, I really feel cannabis should be looked at for people that do have post-trauma, that do have anxiety and do have depression or, inflammation or arthritis or other pain-related conditions first. And it doesn't have to be like the very first, but it should be in that first toolbox, not the last toolbox that's on a shelf. Meanwhile, that person's already suffered all sorts of side effects. I mean, I took so many pills that I now have acid reflux. I have a lot of intestinal issues and digestion issues because of the pills I used to take that were prescribed, or or you could get even at the drugstore just over the counter. So I think it's so important to educate and crush that stigma, but go low and go slow on those edibles. They do take about an hour or two to take effect. So if you don't think they're working, wait a little while, because if you take too many, you're going to be on a green roller coaster wishing you could get off.
Yeah. So just be mindful and, educate yourself, like you said first. But one of the things I wanted to come back to is self-care. I noticed that one of the recent blog posts that you did was about that, self-love, and the things that you do for yourself to really stimulate that. And so what I want to ask you is, at the beginning of our conversation, you talked about a routine that I think many people can relate to. The trying to get to this place on time, juggling more than one thing at a time. You're thinking about the big presentation. You're thinking about your children. You're thinking about possibly a significant other, and about 10 other things in between. Where do you fit in the self-care and the self-love?
Yes.
What are some of the things that you've seen as you've engaged with different women about what that looks like? And I think this is important for men, to hear too. I think, you've got women in your life and, whether it is a significant other, a daughter, or a niece, or anybody else, it's important for us to take a purposeful pause around this.
I so agree. Pausing and reset. Be grateful and pause. I think I was featured in Thrive Global about that too. But yeah, mindset and self-love is so important. We love our children. We might love our careers, maybe or not, but we definitely spend a lot of time with them. And hopefully you love your spouse or partner. And you need to love your life. And it's really hard to do that when you forget yourself. So if you forget yourself, you're not caring for yourself, you're not going to be able to care for others. So I always say, fill your cup up. You have to fill your cup up. And I know that sounds kind of corny or tacky, but it's like, it is so essential and important. And that's kind of why I did these bowls of love, coconut bowl, cup of love, because you need to overflow your cup. And, I remember sometimes people would say, who do you think you are? This is something that and I'm like, or, you're feeling, like you're so full of yourself. Right. And I'm like, wow, like, especially for women, I think we get that a lot. I don't know, any woman that stands in her ground, and sometimes we're not always there. I was very shy when I was younger, then I stepped into my power a little later in life because I had a few hard knocks. And I was like, you know what, I have to take care of myself. And then all of a sudden I was getting a lot of feedback about this. I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but the filling your cup and being full of yourself is so important, because when your cup floweth over, this is something from Oprah, when your cup floweth over, you can pour your cup into others. So I want my cup to be full, and I'm going to be full of myself. That's all good. So those things to fit self-love in, I think even the simplest thing, I have these tips that I'll share a couple of them. And I know I posted a blog about just about things you can do as well. But when you wake up in the morning, I share a lot of these things that I've learned from other really amazing women or speakers, and I'm coached by Tony Robbins myself and Dean. So I incorporate a lot of these things, and Mel Robbins. But high five yourself in the mirror when you wake up in the morning, and you are rocking it. Like, you might think you're not or feel you're not, but you are. You're doing the best you can. And if you start your day like that, no matter what you look like in the mirror, don't judge it. Just high five yourself and say you're beautiful, and you're rocking it, and you're whatever you want to say, something that's empowering to lift yourself up, and actually touch that mirror, like just touch it. Because I think that tactile approach, it does something to me. It really helps me motivate myself and refill myself. But I think, whether it's even like self-love, I think it's a lot about mindset. And it's really hard to fill in those time blocks for yourself, but you really, really have to. And maybe it's not every day, but you should schedule it in your calendar. Like, I'm kind of a calendar queen. I schedule everything, including this podcast, of course. But I'm single, so I would even say, I know they would take offense, but even my dates, I'd say, can you send me a calendar invite? But it was so impossible for me because I had so many things going on, and like I needed to schedule it in. But to make a date with yourself. And when I lost my husband's, I started dating myself and loving myself. And I'm like, what does Kristina want to do today? I have a free night. Maybe my daughter at the time was visiting a friend or sleepover. I'm like, Kristina wants to go to see a movie all by herself and maybe, have a big bucket of popcorn with butter on it. You can indulge, right? But I think also eating while loving your body, right? So if you love your body, make that time, whether it's yoga, meditation, or a combination. Eating well. That's why I love those little smoothie bowls. I'm really addicted to smoothies. I'm going to start compiling some recipes that I use and with optional CBD infusion. So those kind of things are really, really important because if you fuel your body, you're going to fuel your day and you're going to fuel your life if you don't do that. Little indulgences like just even taking, a warm bath and, resting your muscles maybe after workout, or maybe you're just been running around after the kids all day. Bath bomb, put that bath bomb, and I do have some, I didn't talk about those, but I have natural bath bombs. I love that. It's one of my favorite ways. I also, I make my homemade infused, but hopefully I'll be able to launch those in Canada, but I will be launching those in the US as well. It's funny how US regulations are a little more easy to do business in Canada, but so things like that, taking time to read books that really empower yourself. It doesn't have to be, it could be an audible. Sometimes you just don't have time. So put it on while you're in the car. I'm all about multitasking and,
Yes.
and maxing out what I can do. I mean, sometimes I need to tone it down a little bit. But I think another one is walking in nature, like being in nature, connecting. I call it forest bathing. Go for a walk. Go by the beach. I love the beach. And these kimonos that I have, I love them because they make me feel beautiful. They're sustainable silk and they fly. And I have a past life, and I don't know if you know this, but I used to be a professional belly dancer. Amazing. So yeah, I know I have a very eclectic life. So I used to teach women. I performed all around. I even went to Turkey. But silk was, the silk veils, they fly. They're alive. And they just make you feel like a queen. And
it feels so good on your skin.
Yes. They feel so beautiful on your skin, and you can wear it casually or not, or with a bikini. It doesn't matter. Or a one piece. Doesn't matter.
That is so sexy, ladies. Come on. Who doesn't want to feel sexy like that? That's awesome.
Silk is sexy, yes. We use it from a very ethically and sustainable farm. So I'm also and it's a women-led farm as well. So, so there's all these little moments, and I think really is taking that time to also pause and be grateful for what you do have. I think it's really key, and celebrate your wins. So grateful for what you have, but grateful for what you've done, and celebrate whatever you did today. One thing, even if it's one, if there's more than one, fabulous. And then think about maybe what you want to do the next day. But there's so many ways to really take the time to take care of yourself. And I know with children, especially, it doesn't matter. I think when they're young, you're busy. And when they're older as teenagers, their problems become larger.
Yeah.
So it's a different set of problems. But, you're there, you're a parent, you're just going to guide them along the way. But you have to also, you're taking care of them, but you have to take care of yourself and love yourself and fill your cup of love over and get full of yourself.
Yes. And I know that there's at least two things of what you said that somebody can take and apply in their day. And like you said, it's about those moments. It's not like you need a half a day. It could be 30 minutes here. It could be 5 minutes there. It's whatever works for you. So find what works and do it. Schedule it if you have to. You schedule everything else.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to share that link with you because I've actually, there's so many, but there's one little worksheet. And just even unplug from your computer. I know it's so hard. We're addicted.
Digital detox.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So digital detox, like you can make a spot home and just put the phone in another room, turn it off, put it on airplane mode, whatever. Put those bath salts or bath bombs into your bath. Maybe put a candle on. I do have coconut sustainable candles too. I'll do a little plug there. But any candle. And it'll just
Coconut's
really make
favorite.
You feel peaceful.
So good. I'm like envisioning this moment of my day later with these candles and all the things. So I just love it. But I do want to take some time for my audience to get to know you a little bit better. I think they've learned so much about your journey. But one of the important messages that I like to share always is that we are unique. We're unique individuals, and there's things that we have in common, but there's things that make us special. So my first question for you is, what are 3 words that best describe you?
Wow. I'll say brave. Brave has gotten me through a lot. I never thought people say, "Oh, you're so strong." I said, "No, I'm just brave." But bravery is really moving forward, even though you're afraid. So I'm brave. I think I'm curious. I'm always an eternal learner, so I'm curious. And I would say that I am kind and empathetic. They kind of go together because, I think kindness is so important in this world, and I really hope that will be the new contagion after this pandemic, kindness and empathy. So I would like to see that, but I do feel I'm kind and empathetic, and I really always want to, especially towards women, totally empathize with their journeys, no matter where they are in life. So I don't know what other people would say about me. I'm curious actually to ask that question to others.
Yeah, those are all beautiful qualities, and I can just imagine how people are drawn to you because of those. Okay, my next question is, what's something that you're working on improving?
Oh, patience.
You and me both.
I have always had problems with that, but I think we live more now than ever in this world of instant gratification. And then you compare. I'll compare. I mean, I can't help it. I try not to, and it's something I have to work on, patience. But the comparison thing, and you start comparing. Oh, well, I'm only here, and other people are here, whether it's their business or maybe even a fitness, level or whatever. But it's also patience with your children. It's patience with yourself. It's patience with the world. I mean, I'm still going to always be taking action towards things, but I think patience is a virtue, definitely. And it's definitely, if you have patience and you can be mindful how you speak to others, whether they work for you or they're on your team or in your family or your children. I know when I was stressed, that's when my patience is at its worst. So try to get your sleep, ladies, and everyone for that matter,
Yes.
and take care of yourself and love yourself, and you will have more patience with the world.
Oh, that's really good. What is a self-limiting belief that you've had to overcome?
Wow, I think we've all had these, right? I probably have had so many. I don't. I think there was a lot of tenacity that was in some of those. I was young and blonde, and I guess you could say attractive. So I used to think nobody would take me seriously. So I wear glasses now, but sometimes I would wear pretend glasses to an interview, like just so I could be taken
Wow.
seriously. So because I can be very bubbly and fun, I found sometimes maybe it was a self-limiting belief on my own point. I thought people didn't take me seriously. I felt sometimes because I'm a single mother, and this is a real challenge too, but just whether it's, being successful, because you're like, okay, I have all this responsibility and all these things. How can I possibly do this as a single mom? How can I possibly, do this all on my own? But it's just one step in front of the other. And sometimes when I even vocalize this now, it's just a reminder to myself. Um, but I've always had this, I don't know, fighter inside of me. Like I used to love that song by Christina Aguilera. Was it Fighter? Because
Yeah.
I always felt, and maybe that was a self-limiting belief in itself, really, because I always felt the war was against the world, and that was a very toxic way of looking at things. And I guess it is limits you, because it's actually, when I say that, because I always felt like everything was bad was happening to me, right? People were dying, my husbands were dying, I lost, positions, and all sorts of things that happened, and I got sick, and and then financial turmoil, and all these things that happened to me. And I felt like I was fighting the world. And really, at the end of the day, I was fighting myself. I just needed to believe in myself. So I think that in itself, being angry is a self limiting belief. And I think you have to put that on the shelf, and you can acknowledge that feeling. But I think anger was something, and it wasn't really a belief. It was just me thinking I'm angry at the world, and I have to fight for everything. I did fight, but I think I could have done it maybe more peacefully. And having some patience mixed in with that might have helped.
Yeah. That goes together.
Yes.
The patience, the patience piece and the self-limiting belief, but I can completely relate. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. It's just working through ourselves more than it is the outside.
Yes, yes. I think, well, that's what self-limiting beliefs is really. It's a war against internally. So
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, I think it's really just breaking those constructs down and thinking, well, why do I think those things? And maybe I think if you just take action, whether it's something you're afraid of doing or you're not comfortable with, take one step towards it, you'll start to feel more confident. That's how I always action my life. But I know with a pandemic, it's been hard. If you're afraid of public speaking, go on Clubhouse, go to Toastmasters, go on
Right.
podcasts. There's so many different things you can do. Or if you're afraid of opening a business, I mean, maybe just start with something small and put it online and see how that goes while you're still having your day job. There's all sorts of things you can do. Are you afraid of speaking up in a boardroom meeting? I used to be because I knew the men, I did know they wouldn't take me seriously. But that was partly my own belief, but it was also self-destructive because I wasn't allowing my voice to be heard. So I think it's just small steps. Put your thought forward. If someone already said it, just amplify it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. So
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. So I think that I don't know what the original question was now, but one step in front of the other.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Okay, Kristina. What is one thing you want to see changed in the world?
Oh wow, so many things to change. I would. It all comes down to me just love, like love yourself. I think if everybody loved themselves first, there wouldn't be wars. Love your neighbor, love your children. I mean, we all love our children, but really, love our planet. And I mean, it really comes down to that. I think kindness. I said this earlier, but kindness, empathy, love, and a real awareness and understanding. Especially, I mean, I have a soft spot for women, but elevating women for equity and gender equity, especially within the workplace, but in society, we're seeing so many horrible things happen across the world right now where women are losing their rights. I would like to see equity for women and women having a true, sorry, I've made a strong, true voice, in the world that we can actually enact change and to see them in politics, see them in these big countries. Like I would love to see, a female prime minister, a female president. I'd like to see more women in power that can actually make change. And when women work together, we can great things happen. So I would like to see that. That's one of my biggest things. I think there'd be a peaceful world.
Absolutely. Yeah, much more. Okay. What's one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever been given?
I think, my mom actually, not that I really listened to her when I was younger, but but now that I get older, she'd always say, don't sweat the small stuff. And if it doesn't matter in 5 years, does it really? So
That's
sometimes
good.
we ruminate about these little things that happened in our day. Like anything from simple, like, oh my God, like you can have all these amazing things. You're alive, first of all, that's an amazing thing. But someone gets angry at you when you're driving your car and there's some road rage and you're like, oh, you're so upset, you're angry. And that could have been the middle of your day, the end of your day, but whatever, you let it ruin your day. So don't sweat the small stuff. And, this is something especially I probably should have definitely listened to more when I was raising my daughter because I was about, cleaning her room or, blah, blah, blah. And of course, those things matter. You have to, discipline, but I think don't get so worked up about that. If your child's, going to school and they're doing decently in school and they have friends and they're happy, you're very, very blessed. So yeah, don't sweat the small stuff. When you look in the mirror, if you're 5 pounds heavier than you like to be or 10 pounds, I mean, okay, you might want to work on that, but it doesn't mean that you have to ruminate and agonize over it either. Again, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, sometimes I'd get so angry when my daughter would leave the kitchen in a mess. It would so annoy me. And it would ruin my day. I'd come home, I'm like, oh my God, and I'd blow up, no patience, no nothing. I'm in pain because I'm taking all these painkillers. But those things, they don't really matter. So just hug her, tell her you love her. Say, can you please tidy this up? That would make your mom so happy. But don't sweat the small stuff.
Try again tomorrow, honey.
Yes.
Let's let's do better. No, but that's sage advice. And it definitely, you start realizing that probably more and more over time, how minuscule things are when you actually take the time to think about it, or you look back and go, wow, I really got mad over nothing.
Yeah, and that drains your energy. So better to try to take a pause, count to three or whatever, and then rechannel that energy into something else. And, hating on the world or being angry at the world or blaming other people, that's all drain of energy too. So use your energy wisely. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Kristina, how can people find you, follow you, see what's, you talked about some of the upcoming things, and now people are going to be like, okay, well, what's the exact date? When can I get the new stuff? Like, how can they find that out?
Well, you can definitely, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Blue Skies Life. Now remember, Blue Skies is spelled with a Y, so it's blue and then SKYS Life. So that's the handle, Blue Skies Life at Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Pinterest too. But you can obviously go to our website, www. I always have to say that sometimes, but .blue skies life. So again, blue SKYS life.com. There'll be Blue Skies Beauty announcements shortly this fall about when. There'll probably be, a teaser out and a pre-sale. So I'm hoping that we will have the MVP product out by November, but stay tuned. But it'll definitely be before the new year. So very, very excited about that. And I'm on Clubhouse. I'm addicted to Clubhouse. I will say that's one of my addictions right now.
All right.
Yeah, so you can find me at Blue Skies Life, or you can just search my name, Kristina with a K, Shea. I also have, I'm going to give you too many things to find me now, my own club on Clubhouse called Making Her Story, and Blue Skies Life will be kind of having its own club while we're working on that right now. I'm also working on a podcast, so I can't wait to have you as my guest as well, Born Unbreakable. So just stay tuned for that. Hopefully that will be out by November, but it might be, December, the podcast, because we're recording those right now. So the Blue Skies Life show. So there's lots and lots coming. So I'm very excited, but yeah, just check out us on social, Facebook, Instagram, and on our website and the blog there, and search me out on Clubhouse.
Yeah, this is amazing. And I do put all the links in the show notes. And so if anybody, because everybody sort of has their thing, right? Some people are kind of Instagram people. Some people are Clubhouse, and whatever it is. And they need to stop inventing all these different platforms before we've got, a list of 82 places to find ourselves.
And if you sign up for our newsletter, you'll definitely get the VIP intro pre-sale before anybody else. So sign up for our newsletter on our website at blueskieslife.com. Again, it's spelled with a Y, so Blue Skies, SKYS life.com.
Yes, amazing. And I would love to promote your stuff and do a special ad for you in my show. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that so I can do that for you, because I just love what you're doing. I love the what you promote, what you stand for. And so my grateful for today is this time with you, and how much I learned personally, and how excited I am, because for those that are listening, how much they got to learn with me.
Well, I'm very grateful to be here with you. As I said, I was so excited. It's just the topics and just the naming of your podcast, Unbreakable. So remember, ladies and men, you are not broken. You're just getting ready to fly and soar. Like, you don't have broken wings. You're ready to fly. So I love what you're doing, and thank you for holding space with me. And I've learned a lot just watching you artfully interview me. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is just the beginning. I anticipate a lot more exciting conversations, because we have such great alignment, and I'm just really excited about everything that you're doing. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you.
Kristina Shea, CEO of Blue Skies Life, Toronto, Canada, represented today. What an amazing episode. I personally learned so much, and I hope that you did too. Some really great takeaways. Fill your cup up. I love that saying about when your cup is overflowing, it means that you can pour into others. It is so true. Think about that today. What do you need to do for yourself today? 1 or 2 things that you can do to make your cup more full so that you can pour into others, to give the best version of you. What does that look like? It's also amazing how in times of adversity, we learn the most about ourselves, and it sparks some of the most magnificent things in our lives. After the interview, I talked with Kristina about how life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. I just really do believe that. She had the tragedy of losing 2 husbands, going through having a brain cyst, and health trauma and challenges that have now propelled her into this space where she's not only pouring into the wellness of herself, but the wellness of others and helping the economy at the same time. Talk about killing multiple birds with one stone in a magnificent, incredible way. I am so inspired by what she's doing and the products that she has. I'm telling you, definitely check them out, blueskieslife.com. And she's adding more to it. And you are some of the first people to hear about it. And also, let me just talk about the benefits of CBD. I will be the first to say that when CBD and hemp products and things of that nature started becoming more popular, I certainly had skepticism. I'm like, I know that marijuana is legal in some places. Is this going to end up being a crazy thing, a bad thing? And really, in the spirit of health, wellness, and betterment, which I think all of us would not argue against, there are some incredible benefits. Again, study, do your homework, look into what would work for you. I love how she talks about going slow, but there is really such a great variety. For me personally, it was pain that got me to trying different things, like roll-on products for pain, things of that nature. So I'm not the expert. Go to Kristina and other experts like Kristina on that. But I do love the educational piece of it to say, do your research, find what works for you, and really take care of yourself. Because as we know, in this time, tomorrow is not promised. We do only have this one life to live, so we have to do what it takes to take care of ourselves. The nutrients that we feed our body, the exercise that we do, certainly the things, the vitamins, the supplements, and the other kinds of treatments, like we talked about today, are an important part of the journey of exploration, research, and finding the right solutions for yourself personally. So I hope that you were inspired by Kristina, her story, her unbreakable spirit. Talk about the epitome of unbreakable. It is certainly that woman right there. Follow her on all the social media platforms that she mentioned. It'll be in the show notes. And remember that you are your only limit. So take action today. Do the one thing that you need to do today to take yourself to the next level. Doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's the self-care. Maybe it's the self-love that will propel you. Maybe that's just it. Maybe that's the action step, but maybe there's some other things that you might be thinking of too. Don't forget to tune in again, because it's what I do here. Tune in again next week for another amazing episode. And please do me this favor, share this episode with somebody who needs to hear it. There is a lot that you could turn on today on the news, for example, or something that you read that doesn't put you in the right mindset, the right spirit, the right attitude. I want this to be a place that puts you in the right mindset to help others and to be the best version of you so that you can live an abundant life. So share this episode, rate and review it. Audible, Apple, those are the places that you can do that. Thank you so much for your support. And feel free to reach out to me, des@bornunbreakable.com. If there's anything that you want to share from being on the podcast, sharing your feedback with me, I'm always open to hearing it. Tune in again next week. See you then.